Recently, we celebrated Australia Day on the 26th of January. But why do we mark it on that day in particular? To answer that question, Sarah will take you back in time to 1788 to meet some kids who came to Australia on the First Fleet.
My name is Elizabeth Hayward and I'm 13 years old. I was apprenticed to a clogmaker in London, but I was paid so little, so I stole some clothes and tried to sell them.
Oi! For the theft of one linen gown, value 4 shillings, a silk bonnet, value 2 shillings, and a cloak, value 1 shilling. You are found guilty.
My name is John Hanson. I'm 9 years old. I've been an orphan ever since I can remember. I made a living by chimney sweeping. It was horrible work and dangerous too. In summertime, there's no use for sweeping, so I took to thieving to survive.
For the theft of one pistol, value 5 shillings, and 2 aprons, value 2 shillings. You are found guilty.
In London in the 1700s, jails were full of people like Elizabeth and John. Poor, hungry, unwanted. People who stole to survive. The city's population had exploded and mass poverty had led to a rise in crime.
You are sentenced to death by hanging.
England's laws were really, really harsh. Stealing something could land you with a death sentence. But they couldn't hang everyone. And with the jails full, there was the problem of what to do with all the criminals. One solution was transportation. Britain had colonies in Africa and America where it sent criminals. But then the Americans rose up against the English, so that was no longer an option. So the government decided to set up a new penal colony in a land called New South Wales, claimed for England by Captain Cook in 1770.
John Hudson, you are sentenced to transportation across the seas for a period of 7 years.
11 ships were prepared for the voyage to New South Wales. 6 would transport convicts. They were the Alexander, the Friendship, the Charlotte, the Lady Penrhyn, the Prince of Wales and the Scarborough. Then there were 2 Navy ships and 3 ships full of the supplies that they'd need to build a new colony. Captain Arthur Phillip was chosen to lead that colony. He knew it was an important job and that one day New South Wales could be great.
The sanguine might form expectations, extraordinary consequences, and be justified in some degree by the reflection that from smaller and not more respectable beginnings, powerful empires have frequently arisen.
The convicts probably weren't so hopeful. More than 700 were packed onto the crowded ships, including around 17 children. Many were sick and malnourished when they boarded. Around 20 wouldn't survive the journey. The ship sailed from Portsmouth, England on the 13th of May, 1787. As they sailed through the tropics, the weather was hot and humid. There were rats, cockroaches and other pests, and water had to be rationed. On the 5th of August, they arrived in Rio de Janeiro and took on food and water. Then they sailed on to the Cape of Good Hope in Africa. On the 19th of January, the first ships arrived in Botany Bay. 7 days later, they found a good place to anchor, and Arthur Phillip planted a British flag in a place he called Sydney Cove. The land had been home to Aboriginal people for tens of thousands of years. But to the convicts, it was new, strange, and harsh.
I never thought I'll end up in a place like this, so far away from home. But I've survived this far and I'll keep on surviving.
We'll make the best of what we have, and maybe someday we'll build a better future here in New South Wales.